Hey, good evening. Happy Monday. Today is Mindset Monday. We are going to cover a fun but important topic tonight, maybe to keep your mind off of the stress of the elections. So tonight we're going to talk about accountability. So what are you accountable for? Are pharmacists truly accountable for medications? How about in your own organization? Are you accountable for the medication use process throughout your organization? Well, welcome to Connector Dots. These are brief, candid insights for healthcare, pharmacy, and life for connectors and pharmovators. Today, during Mindset Monday, we're going to explore this topic and why there are benefits of having an accountable mindset when it comes to the medication use process. And I call it a mindset for an important reason we'll get to. And this topic did come up today. I'm actually wearing red because I had a chance to be part of a mentoring session with the University of Cincinnati's PharmD students. And so I enjoyed that. It was right before our board meeting. I'm on the board for the Masters in Pharmacy Leadership program that UC has, which is a great program. I'm happy to be a part of the faculty for that and also on the board to drive that progress. So this came up because as people talk to me or want to hear my biggest points of advice, many times when I finish these sessions, if you've heard me before, I do talk about being bold, being accountable to advance practice. And for me, doing that comes from, being a pharmovator, being a bold innovator. And so I had a chance to talk about those topics today, and that's why I wanted to cover this subject. We'll get into why I think it's important for it to be a mindset, because while there are things you can do for accountability as a leader, it comes down to your mindset. Like, do you have that mindset where you're automatically thinking, right? What is the definition of mindset, right? It is this habitual or characteristic mental state that determines how you're going to interpret and respond to situations. So to me, having an accountable mindset really supports you being accountable with anything that comes up around medications. I've definitely seen people, though, where not being accountable for the medication use process. And so I want to talk about this today. If you don't know me, I'm your host, Kimber Boothe. I'm a strategic coach and consultant for pharmacy and healthcare. I've been a pharmacist, healthcare leader, and now entrepreneur. I'm the owner of the Kimber Boothe Group, and I help pharmacists justify resources to advocate for advancing practice in their organizations. So this mindset topic, there's formal definitions of accountability, which means you're obligated to do work and justify work you're doing. We also use the term accountable a lot when it comes to RACI charts, when you're trying to decide who to keep involved in a project. Like who's responsible, who's accountable, who do you need to consult and inform. So the accountable person is important. They're kind of the approver. They have that final authority for a project. But when I like to think about it, it's, are you accountable, like overall responsible for what happens? It doesn't mean you have to be the responsible person actually doing the work. Right? This is the big difference. It doesn't mean that we're going to be the ones administering that medication all the time, right? The medication use process starts with like ordering the medications, prescribing the medications, dispensing the medications, administering, and monitoring. That's kind of like the big buckets of what happens in the medication use process. And are we accountable for what happens? We may not be responsible for the exact steps, right? Because we're not going to be the ones necessarily administering the medication. We may not be the ones actually doing the prescribing. We may not even be the ones monitoring, depending on the situation. Ambulatory practice, we may not always be monitoring every patient, but are we accountable to make sure that that process is safe and that we've monitored it through leader rounding or auditing or other things to make sure that process is safe and effective. So there's definitely ways to establish accountability, very formal leadership ways. I list a few of them in the notes that you can refer to, which is, setting expectations, inviting commitment from others, measuring your progress, of course, providing the feedback, and then having some consequences if you're not meeting it, and continuing to evaluate the effectiveness. So those are ways you establish accountability. But for me, it all goes back to the mindset, right? It's interesting when I think about the word accountable. I forget sometimes that we establish these accountable care organizations, and right, they use that term to say that that organization was accountable for the patient's care. Not that any one individual person was providing the care and accountable, but the overall organization was accountable for the care of the patient. So I think it's a good word, and I do use it a lot, and I wanted to share that with you. So when have I not seen this happen? When we think about the medication use process, right, and we think about maybe in a hospital setting, definitely, it's very common that medications are provided to the nursing units by the pharmacy. But there are often times that the nurses are asked to come to the pharmacy to pick up meds. Well, is that really accountable? Making another care team member go out of their way, leaving the patient's bedside. I much rather see a way that we find ways to not have that nurse leave the bedside. How can we provide and be accountable for the med use process to make sure they receive the med without it negatively impacting the patient's experience? Same thing with smart infusion pumps. Granted, we are not usually the ones actually, giving the med or starting the infusion at the bedside, but how are we accountable to make sure that med is being used appropriately? I've had people respond to me sometimes, oh, well, that's the pumps, nurse, that's under nursing. Well, no, we can be partners and collaborate and show that we are accountable. They will appreciate it. And we definitely have to involve them because they are the ones actually doing it. So it definitely has to be collaborative, but it's the administration of a medication. And if we are using all of our knowledge and being accountable, then we need to demonstrate that, even in that setting. The other example I think about is in the ambulatory setting, right? Many times even though, of course, you may know that I want to establish and have a pharmacist in for every 3 primary care doctors to have a truly integrated practice model. I think that's important, but even still, the pharmacist is still not going to be able to be at the point of prescribing for every single dose, but they can be involved. And when it comes to the pharmacy receiving that medication, making sure that pharmacy has enough information to check that dose, that the provider who's prescribing it has the right information and the use of the EHR, so that we are ensuring the best chances and effectiveness for ordering that medication. All of the other things that patients have to deal with having adherence issues. Why are they not adherent to their medication? What about when we're giving samples out or copay cards or things to help the patient? How is the pharmacy team accountable for what is happening for that situation? And the overall medication assistance process, how can we help patients to ensure that they can access these critical life-saving medications? So those are the things I wanted to cover with you today. Again, while accountability is definitely a leadership, competency that you can learn, and there are formal ways you can put it in place, for me, it comes down to having that mindset. So for me, anytime a medication is being prescribed, considered, discussed, administered, monitored, all of those times, I want to make sure that we are accountable for that and we are helping to support a safe and effective process. So thanks for joining me today. I want to invite you to join me for future Connector Dots. You please join my Pharmovator group, a new community for pharmacy innovators at facebook.com/groups/Pharmovator. And please go to my website at kimberbooth.com, connect with me, join my email list. I share valuable information and actually will provide a portal for these live little connector dots for you to access, since I know you can't catch them all. So I leave you with be bold, be accountable, advance healthcare and pharmacy practice. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.